Good afternoon. My name is John Phethean. Today is April the 7th, 2011. I am here today with Henry Plucinnik, who served in the Army during World War II.
Right.
Henry.
Right. And I'm Henry C. Plucinnik, and I'm from Scranton, Pennsylvania, and I spent 2.5 years in the Army.
So, Henry, you were born in Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Right.
You went to school there.
I went to school. I went to the 9th grade, and then I had to go. I went to work because I got a job. It was 1929 and 1930. What they call it, the Big Depression. So then I went to work, and I worked 30 years, but I got a chance to learn a trade.
What trade did you learn?
I learned a tool and die maker. So I started the tool and die maker trade. I had 6 months of training. When I was the Army, not the Army, but the Selective Service drafted me. So when I come back out, I picked it up under the GI Bill of Rights, and I put in 30 years after that.
Okay.
Tool and die making.
You got this job during the Great Depression. Did your family need you to work? Did you have siblings who worked as well?
No, we peddled papers. My brothers and I did, but I thank God my mother and father knew how to handle it. Mm-hmm. They ended up that they didn't owe anybody any money or anything. Mm. So they didn't. If you couldn't pay for it, you didn't buy it. But I like the expression, "The kids don't know it till they put it on the book." Mm. I tease them when I go to the store.
When you were drafted through the Selective Service.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. You went to basic training. Did you go with anyone you knew?
My one buddy of mine, he already had put a hitch since peacetime in the Army. Mm. But both of us were drafted at the same time. He went to Indian Town Gap today, but in the morning we were separate because he had already previous experience. He was transferred someplace else. But I was bucking for the Air Force for the easy job. But I ended up Army engineers in Fort Belvoir, Virginia.
Is that where you did your basic training?
That's where I did my basic training, and that's where I found out that there was a color line. And then from there I went down to San Antonio, Texas, to the machine shop school. Camp Normal Ordnance right by Kelly Field. And from there we went up to Illinois, Camp Ellis. It was a camp that was put up right during the war. And it was way out in the middle of the prairie. And snow was up about 4 feet high. And everything was going good. And from there, I went to Boston. And from Boston, we sailed to Scotland. And from Scotland, we were in England. And from England, we went into Europe.
How much time did you spend stateside between the time you were drafted in the Selective Service before
2.5 years.
That's a lot of time stateside.
Yeah, no, not too much time stateside. Most of the time was overseas. And I was 80 days at sea because of transportation on a boat. So I say I'm half sailor. Mm. Otherwise, we didn't stay too long in any one place. I don't think I was in England 6 months when we went into Europe.
What did you do in England?
We built places for the stock bombs, like the storage areas. And I found later on the British charged us for every tree that we knocked down, the British charged us for it.
Did they really?
That's what I found out later.
Build bombs to help their war?
Yeah, the bombs didn't knock them out, we knocked them out with the bulldozers.
Yeah.
So outside of that, and then we were in England, our troops, not me, I was on a decoy, we sat on the London Road. There was a big road like I-95 here. It went all the way down. We set up a big hangars to make it look like the Air Force was coming in. And I was at one night, and coming in, and the guy says, "Hey, we're in Europe." And our fellows, he actually helped the paratroopers to take off. Yeah. Our engineers.
What kind of things did you do in England aside from building these box facilities to deceive the enemy?
We did have bulldozers. We had maybe 1 or 2 cranes, but no. Oh yeah, we had to have jackhammers. I remember the sergeant giving me the sergeant, and he said, "You run this." I said, "I can't run that. It weighs more than I do." But bounced around, so one of the other fellows took it over, and he danced all over the neighborhood.
Did you keep in touch with your family while you were still in England?
Oh yeah, I was married when I was in it.
Oh yeah? Yeah. When did you get married?
I was married 5 years before I was drafted.
Oh wow.
So, and then when I was in the service and I was overseas, I was the kid in the platoon. But I was the oldest guy. I had all of these college graduates. My company commander was 19 years old. So they got like, then I had fellows that were more from the Midwest. They were then from here, this area here. And one of the guys, he must have been a street urchin. Because anytime there was a fight, he was there. He wanted to take on the Australian Army.
Did you have a lot of correspondence with him? Did you get to read letters from family and friends often? Were you sending a lot back and forth?
Oh, I wrote to my wife and my sisters, and the family. My mother passed away the night that I was drafted. So they didn't know that I was in the service. But I kept correspondence at home. That's when we ordered V-mail.
What's V-mail?
There was V-mail made strictly for veterans. It's for services. It was like email, I think you call it today. It had separated thing and everything else. It was quicker delivery, and it was small. So that we had that. I made sure we were contact. But that's why I'm surprised even that much is saved.
What kind of relationships did you build in England? Did you make a lot of friends before you shipped out to Europe?
I met a Polak there, a Polish fellow, and I said something to him. I said, "Oh, dobry wieczór, pan." He says, "It's morning." Dzień dobry. That was the end of my language. No, I didn't make any contact with them there. Most of the guys, because we were on detail all the time. If we did go out, we went out to a bar room, had a couple of beers, and come back. So it was and then we only in England no more than 8 months.
So it was a very regimented day.
Just
not a lot of
hello, goodbye. That's it.
Not a lot of rest and relaxation while you're there.
No.
Where did you ship to in England, or out of England to Europe?
Southampton.
Southampton.
And when we went into France a month after D-Day, because we had engineering equipment, we couldn't go in like the infantry. They carried theirs. We couldn't carry bulldozers and tractor trailers and big cars. So we went them up later. And I remember that we were there, and they said, "Henry, you and B.O. or my brother are on guard duty." So they put us in the big field, and we're standing there back to back, and they hear the sound going, crunch, crunch, crunch. I said, "Uh-oh, here comes the German army." So we go down slower till we're sitting down on the ground and standing, and all of a sudden, a big white horse's head comes out of the bush. Boy, there was 2 dirty pairs of pants. We thought it was the Germans creeping up on us. That was the funniest part of it. I enjoy it. After that, we went out. We built bridges. We built stockades for the PWs. We repaired hospitals where they were needed. But most of it was open the roads. So if they had the equipment that was the Army, the Air Force strafed, the Germans, they cleaned out. We cleaned all that up. Make room so infantry could move faster.
So you did a lot of the support work so that generals and their armies could move
more support. That was how we went. And then from in there, we went as far as the Danube River. We were in Wagner's Opera House. That was a beautiful, and believe it or not, the Air Force was accurate. Bombed all around the building, and only a couple broken windows in Wagner's Opera House.
Really?
And it was a beautiful building. I brought home a map of Germany from there, and I was working for a fellow. He came from Germany, an old-timer. I gave it to him as a gift. He was tickled pink because he knew it better than I could.
Was your unit very mobile? Your engineers, you have big bulldozers, you have large equipment.
We had big, yeah.
Were you moving quickly through Europe, or was it one project for a month and then rolling elsewhere?
No, we were right behind Patton. And Patton was moving fast because if he wasn't moving fast, they'd never move what they did. So we had heavy equipment. Like I said, I used a jackhammer, but not too much. Chainsaw, but most of it hand lever. I remember the first bridge we built was across a little canal, and the fellow who was a surveyor, he made a straight line, which is right, drawn a bridge, and then the Germans opened a dam someplace. So we want to see the nicest rafts going down the river. We didn't anchor it. But after that, they found out make sure you have to have a footing when you build a bridge to make your anchor on it. Otherwise, they collapse and go like this one went away on it. And then you put an arch in it. You should let the water flow underneath it.
So you learned as you went. It wasn't just the training the Army gave you before you left.
Yeah, no, I didn't even have any of that training in civilian life, but we had it in the Army. Like in Camp Ellis, that's what they trained us, how to build bridges across the Spoon River. That's a big river in the state park in Illinois.
What kind of